Welcome to the Learn English Network live chat for a Monday morning. I'm going to try and sound bright and breezy, but it's Monday. Give me a break. And to Shiny's question, did you sleep well last night? No, I didn't. I spent a lot of time awake worrying. I'll show you why in a moment. So, welcome to live chat. What do we do in this session? Well, it's sort of a start to the week. We have a look at live chat discussions from the website, learnenglish.de, and then we look at the vocabulary challenge from the forum. If you don't know what the vocabulary challenge is, you need to look at the groups on the forum, but I'll show you that in a bit. Now, first of all, lots of screen sharing. Lots of me talking in this session, but I will be inviting people this week and next week to come and do some reading and discussion. The vocabulary was a big topic last week, all about music, expanding on what we'd already done. So I hope it wasn't too difficult. I know lots of you went to the dictionaries, which is fine. There's no cheating. It's not a test. And, but I hope you also enjoyed it. Anyway, let's begin. I'm going to share my screen, so you won't be able to hear me for a moment. Type 111 if you can hear me. Okay. If you don't recognize this, okay, this is live chat. This is where you can join the session. Okay, you can register for this session on the live chat page. And April, what happens? It's more what happened. Oh, this is so embarrassing. I broke it. Okay, I broke it. Now, there's a reason. We're going to HTTPS on the websites, on the network in general, which is a security level. Okay. Now, being driven by Google, to be honest. So you'll now see, instead of HTTP, you'll see a little S next to the URL. And that just means a SSL, secure socket layer. Don't even start me on that. So we enabled it yesterday, and we use on live chat and other pages in the sites, we do use discuss. Okay. Now you'll see comments for this thread are now closed. I'm going to try a quick refresh on that page. Let's see what happens. Okay. If I disappear, you'll know I've broken everything again. I'm good at breaking things. Okay. So yes, it's still closed. So it's closed the threads, and it's, if you notice, the last topic was 11 days ago. Well, since then we've had Pancake Day, and there were lots of discussions about making pancakes and who's eating pancakes. So I know that's wrong. Anyway, leave it with me, but this week I won't be able to go through the live chat from last week because I ate it, okay? So apologies if you posted last week. Hopefully we'll be able to catch up next week once I've tracked them down and pulled them back into the actual chat. Okay, so yeah, April, what happened? Broke it. Bad bunny. It happens. It's the net. Come on. So they're still there. They are still there. I haven't deleted them. It's just I've got to discuss where to put them. And I don't know why it didn't just put them there, but it didn't. So bear with me and we'll get it back. So we'll go to the vocabulary challenge this week then. And the vocabulary challenge was all about music. Now, we did music before when we were looking at our lovely band. Okay, this is our girl band in Kitely, and here's Monique. April, and there's Hermina, and there's Shiny. Hi, guys. Didn't know I was going to do that, did you? But that's a pop band, a rock band, a pub band, a girl band. You have boy bands. It's pop music or rock. Oh, so pop, rock, that kind of thing. Oh, Monique, you look like you've lost your legs, your feet. And what I wanted to do was expand it a bit into this kind of ensemble. Okay, there's a nice word for you, an ensemble. Okay, ensemble. Borrowed from the French. Okay, don't try to be clever, Lynn. I know, April, I know, but sometimes you just have to jump in, and I'm not trying to be clever, I'm trying to be compliant. Okay, so an ensemble. Does anybody know what an ensemble means in the context of music? Has anybody come across the word ensemble? Oh, yeah, it can be an orchestra. Hang on, let me just put the N in where it should be. It says an ensemble with an N. Thank you, April. Yeah, it can be an orchestra. Hi, Rima. Nice to see you. It can be an orchestra, but it can also be any group of musicians or artists, actors, dancers. You can have a dance ensemble. But this, of course, is an ensemble of musicians. And this is what we call a symphony orchestra. Okay. And we're going to learn a little bit about symphony orchestras and the musical instruments in this session. We'll be reading in general about them, but I thought we'd start with some vocabulary. Okay. Let's first start with some pronunciation. Okay, we say music, but then musical and musician. Okay, so musicians play music. Okay, musicians play music, so they should be musical. Okay, but you've got that difference between the hard ending for music and then the soft sh in the middle of musician. Okay. Okay. Now, in this orchestra here, you can see everybody's grouped together in different sections. Okay, so an orchestra has different sections. And each section has a special name. Does anybody know the 4 main sections in a typical orchestra? Can you name the sections? I know this wasn't in the vocabulary challenge, but I just want to see if you know. They've got funny names. No? Thank you, April, for your honesty. No? Okay, well, that's why you're here then. I just wondered because some of you might have been to concerts. Okay, so orchestras play concerts. Now, I know we have concerts for bands as well, but they're pop concerts. And when orchestras play, orchestras like this play, they sometimes play pop, actually. The ELO, Electric Light Orchestra, they sort of rocked up classical music. But generally they play classical music, chamber music, concert music, different types of classical music, Brahms, Liszt, Mozart, Beethoven, all the great musicians of the past, and they're all lumped into this term classical music. It's still very popular. So classical music can be popular music, but it's not generally pop music. Okay? Okay, so let's have a look at the 4 sections. And they are woodwind, brass, percussion, and strings. Okay. Okay, so woodwind, the woodwind section, brass is the brass section, percussion, the percussion section, and strings, violin, viola, cello, double bass, the string section. Okay. Now, it's woodwind and brass are like the wind section, instruments that you blow. Okay. Percussion section, instruments that you hit. And the string section, instruments that you pluck or that you use a bow, that you bow. Okay. And you saw the word bow. Remember, bow, not bow. So a violin bow. The conductor, we'll come to the conductor in a minute, bows. Okay. So, in the vocabulary challenge, there were 19 instruments and 19 words. They weren't all instruments. Music stand isn't an instrument. And I think you all did really well again, honestly. I was very impressed. Okay. And I loved, Shiny, I loved the way you brought a different session for how to name things that you don't know the name of, thingamajigs. There are lots of thingamajigs in orchestras. Okay. So you put stick, but it's actually the bow. Okay. And some of these little instruments here are difficult. The woodwind instruments can be quite difficult to name, and the brass instruments can also be difficult to name. But between you, you did really well. Okay. Now, the actual answers, which I put up yesterday, are there. Okay. And I did say we'll discuss this topic tomorrow. I also said, can you think of any musical instruments not on this list? But nobody came back to me. And there are some. There are some. But let's look at some of the musical instruments from the challenge and a few extra ones as well. Okay. So, bear with me a second. Oh, there's the challenge as you were given it. And bear with me whilst I get the... Oh, that's interesting. Okay, no, it's disappeared on me. Bear with me a second. I've lost my... I did prepare this, honestly, but I've lost my M for Music files. So... That's annoying. But never mind, I'll give you the note card first. Do you know what? Sometimes I hate computers. Okay, so there's the list. Let me just go and find the pictures. I have got them, honestly. So, music, 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 music. Music starts with the letter M. Orchestra. Okay. So, okay, lots of different musical instruments, and some of them you might recognise from other kinds of musical events. So some of these musical instruments are played in pop bands, okay, like the guitar and the piano, the electric guitar, the microphone. Yeah, they'll crop up in an orchestra and also in a rock band or a pop band. Okay, some musical instruments aren't likely to be seen in a pop band though. Okay, so for example, the cello. So let's have a look. We'll start with the string instruments, okay? And there are, again, more than were in the vocabulary challenge. There's a lot of vocabulary to do with music, and it is important because if you go to the UK, music is a huge part of our life, be it rock music or classical music. There will always be something to do if you're into music in the UK. So the string instruments, well, look at the main ones. You've got the guitars and I'll call them guitars because you've got the acoustic guitar and you've got the electric guitar. So you've got acoustic, which means it's basically not plugged in, and the electric, which basically means you have to plug it in, okay? But we also have things like the lute, very old instrument, different styles of lute, and also instruments from other countries, like the balalaika, okay? So it's worth looking at instruments in your own country and see how they differ to traditional Western instruments. There are some wonderful stringed instruments from India, and you might see them in a classical concert, okay? Because they will turn up. There's the sitar, okay, the tampura, the santur, and sometimes you suddenly see, the Philharmonic Orchestra has got a sitar playing because it makes a wonderful noise. Okay, then you've got, of course, the violin, the cello, and the double bass, which are all played with the bow. These instruments are plucked. So you pluck with your fingers, and these are all bow instruments. You use the bow and you stroke the bow across the strings, and your fingers only touch this part to set the pitch and tone. And then we have this instrument, which again, if you look back at the picture we had of the orchestra, you would have seen this instrument there. It's very large, lots of strings, particularly fond of it in Wales. It's one of the Welsh national symbols. Can anybody name it? A harp. That's it. Good. The harp. The banjo. Yes, the banjo. It would look a little bit like this, but maybe with a round sounding board. Okay, these are lutes. Yes, there is a banjo. I've probably got one somewhere in my little collection of instruments, but I'd have to go and look for it. Okay, now again, a banjo not likely to play in an orchestra, and some of these instruments are not likely to be played in an orchestra. So, of these stringed instruments, which one do you think is the least likely to play in a classical orchestra? Which one is least likely? The harp. Okay, actually, again, if you noticed the picture I showed of the orchestra, let me see if I can find it again. There was a clue that it's not the harp. Let me find the image. No, I don't want you to know where I am. Okay, here it is. View image. It is of the Shenyang Orchestra. But there you see here. Can you see Marco, Rima? There's the harp. And it's not in every orchestra setup, but if the musical score calls for it, then yes, there'll be a harp. Harp is a classical instrument. You're not likely to see a harp in a pop band or a rock band. But again, it has been known. Okay? So the harp wasn't. Any other guesses? Let me have a look. Yeah, that's it. Nikos, well done. Yeah, well done. The electric guitar. The electric guitar, it could be a bass guitar. I'm not a guitar expert, but yeah, it's very unlikely that somebody will come out, Roger Daltrey from The Who, going, no. There is a little bit of snobbery in classical music, and they like to have fun, but I think they draw the line at the electric guitar. Why what, April? Why what? You put why, and I don't know which why you mean. Okay, so string instruments. Now, again, we've got parts of things. Okay, so you've got an orchestra, then you have parts of the orchestra, sections as they call it, and you have a violin. And when you see a violin, it's enough to know it's a violin sometimes, unless somebody asks you to hold it by its neck. You think, it's what? It hasn't got a neck. It's not a person, but it does. Okay. If somebody asks you to tighten the pegs, maybe you'll need this vocabulary. So if you think you might need this vocabulary, send me a request on the forum and I will send you the vocabulary page. Okay. We won't go into it now, but suffice to say, there's the bow. And yes, it has got a frog. Don't you love English vocab? And there's the violin. And yes, it has a neck and a chin rest. And then it's got F holes. I mean, really? I love English vocab. But we won't go into that too much. Let's move on to the wind instruments. Okay. So we've got two kinds of wind instruments. We've got woodwind and brass. And if you want to know about brass instruments, have a word with Zom. She used to play in a band. You didn't know that, did you? I know, it's got a frog. I used to play the violin, by the way, when I was at school. It's very common at school in the UK. Not as much as it was, but most schools also have orchestras and children are encouraged to learn an instrument. Not to become proficient, just to become a bit more musically inclined. And those who are very, very good, like my sister, are then maybe invited to join the orchestra. I played with the orchestra a couple of times, but I'm not a musical genius at all. I like music though. I do like music. So we're going to look at the wind instruments. Okay. And again, we had most of these in the vocabulary challenge. So let's not get bogged down with the names of things. We've got the woodwind. Okay. And then we've got the brass. And you can see why it's called brass, because most of these instruments in the brass section are made of brass. Okay. Don't know why. Maybe there's some acoustic reason. I don't know. But there are a couple of ones here that might not appear in an orchestra. Can you name them? April, I'm going to mark your why as answered because you haven't told me why what. So if you want to add why what, then please let me know. So which instruments might not appear in an orchestra? Was that your answer, Rima? Bagpipe? Yeah, we don't say a bagpipe. We call them bagpipes. The bagpipes. He plays the bagpipes. And yes, very unlikely to have bagpipes in an orchestra. Okay, I'm sure it's happened, but the bagpipe is a military instrument. It was used to put the fear of into your enemies. And it makes a terrible noise that always makes me want to go to the toilet, which is probably the desired effect. And as I used to live in Scotland, it's not very good to have an aversion to the bagpipes. Okay. But yes, very unlikely you'd hear the bagpipes in an orchestra. And also, does anybody know what this one's called? Can you see it here? Anybody know what this instrument is? It's also a wind instrument. You blow into it. You blow into the holes. Most of these instruments, you have a mouthpiece you blow into. Even the bagpipes, there's a mouthpiece you blow into to inflate. I think that's it, to inflate the actual bag. And then there's the fluting part that changes the different pitch and tone of the notes. Okay. And the French horn as well. And the trumpet, clarinet. But what about this one? Well done, Kwong. Yes, well done, April. Yep, and well done, Rima, because it's a mouth organ or a harmonica. I will accept either. A mouth organ, a harmonica. Unlikely also to be found in a traditional orchestra, in a symphony or philharmonic orchestra. It's mostly folk music and country music. And as I say, this is folk music as in Scottish music. There are bagpipes around the world. Bagpipes aren't just Scottish. You can tell this is a Scottish bagpipe because it has the tartan bag. But if you go to Northumbria, they have Northumbrian pipes. And if you go to other parts of the world, in China, in India, they have similar instruments. Okay? So it's one thing we have in common around the world is music. Hey, percussion, hitting things. Yay, we love hitting things. So, of the percussion instruments, and again, we've got the drums, the cymbals, the tambourine, the bongos, the triangle. Oh, that was funny. Who wrote that? Somebody wrote something in the forum answers. I closed it, curses. And it was a triangular thing. And it is called the triangle, and it is a musical instrument. Okay? You thought it was the eraser for the blackboard. No. Okay. I have told you to get yourself down to the opticians, April. Okay. So, in percussion, hitting and shaking. Okay, so you can make a percussion instrument out of anything. Put some rice into a container and you can make a shaky instrument too. All percussion. Now, there are different kinds of percussion instrument. The cymbals, the drums, the tambourine. Does anybody know what this is? Very useful if you ever need a word beginning with X. And you often get sticks with these percussion instruments. Drumsticks, the triangle stick. I have no idea. It's probably got a special name. I don't know what it is. And then this for this instrument, which is anyone? Begins with X. There's not many words in English that begin with X. No? And quite often you can buy these for children in Toys R Us or in the Early Learning Centre. It's a child in the UK. It's often a child's first musical instrument. It's the xylophone. The xylophone. Okay. So very useful if you ever need to know a word beginning with X. You can only say X-ray so often. Now, which instrument do you think wouldn't be likely in an orchestra? Which of these do you think might not be in an orchestra? Well done, Shiny. Yes, you got it. Xylophone. This one here. Oh, sorry, Rima. We've only got so long. I'm so sorry. Okay. But anyway, you might never need that word again. But if you have children in the UK, you will, because it will be the first musical instrument they play, apart from, obviously, the cardboard box. Another percussion instrument. So, which ones might not turn up in an orchestra? Now, don't say xylophone, because quite often the xylophone and even something called tubular bells are used in orchestras nowadays because they make a lovely sound. The bongos, yeah, the bongo drums. Very unlikely to have it in a classical orchestra. Absolutely. Again, lots of folk music, African music, world music, as Peter Gabriel called it, would use bongo drums. It might turn up, they might turn up, but it's unlikely. Okay. And also these, does anybody know what these are called? These you shake, you don't hit them, you shake them. Any idea? I'll give you a few seconds whilst I figure out how to actually spell them because I can't think. Is it one or two? I can never remember. Ah, yes, I've got it. But these, they're not shakers. You can actually get shakers now. Very popular in raves. They look like an egg. They're called egg shakers, and they've just got, I don't know what, beans or rice inside them, and you shaky, 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 shaky. Made famous by the Happy Mondays, actually. But these aren't shakers, although you do shake them. They've got a special word. You call them bongo. Oh no, you hit bongos, but you shake maracas. Yeah. Oh, well done, Nikos. Yay. Excellent. Now, I had to check this, but I believe we spell it with a C, just one C, maracas. Okay. Shake your maracas. Don't say that in polite company. Okay, so that's percussion, hit or shake. Then sometimes we get keyboard instruments in orchestras. Now, not always, but which one of those do you think is unlikely to turn up? And which one do you think is likely to turn up? Again, we've got keyboard instruments, as in they all have a keyboard, not like on your computer. There's no letters on it. Although you can turn your computer keyboard into a musical keyboard if you have the right software. But these keyboard instruments, now these two have the same name, but they're different kinds of, and this one is completely different. What would we call these two first? Any idea? Yeah, well done, April. They're both pianos, so they're pianos. Now, notice we don't put O-E-S. It's just we add an S to piano, piano, pianos. And then this one is a piano, and what we call an upright piano, because it's upright. And as April quite rightly said, this is a grand piano. Okay, a grand piano. Well done, well done. And this one is more likely to appear in a symphony orchestra. This one's more likely to appear in a school orchestra. These are expensive. And if you want to see a video of a grand piano being trashed, look at YouTube, grand piano disaster. It's awful. It's a really expensive instrument. Got dropped. Ouch. And here we have the electronic keyboard or synthesizer, depending how it's being used. Very unlikely to have this in a classical orchestra. Again, it has happened, okay, but it's unlikely. So good. Any questions before I start inviting people to come and read? A wing piano. Really, I can see why, because it is almost like a wing, isn't it? Yeah, but we call it a grand piano. Okay, let me go to admin then. Let's see who's asking. So, Sura, you asked to join us. You haven't been in the session before, so remember you'll need to download. I don't think you have anyway. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you will need to download the app if you haven't already done so. Then you will be asked to go through a voice check. It will check your camera. Don't worry about that, but make sure your microphone is working. Just say 1, 2, 3, testing, testing for each part of the test. Okay. Okay. So we'll invite Shura in, and then I'll invite you in, Marco, in a moment, Rima, once we've seen whether Shura can actually join us. It's always exciting, this bit. Okay. So who can take the list of our challenge and put them into the different sections of the orchestra? So let's do the string section. which instruments would go into the string section? Type them up as you figure them out. Okay. Just you can put the number down or you can put the name down. So we'll start with the string section, but from 1 to 10, no, it wouldn't all go. All these would not go into the string section, if that's what you meant, April. 0. Not flute. That's very true. I did say which ones would go, not which ones wouldn't go. So I'm not sure what you meant by 0. At 1. Okay, let's see if Shiny's right. 1 violin, correct. Okay, and because it's part of the violin and all the other strings, the bow. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Okay, let's have a look. 1, 4 viola, yep, and 5 cello, yes, and 6 double bass, yes. Now, string isn't actually an instrument. The string is part of all these instruments. So 1 to 6 would all go into the string section. Good, well done. Can you hear me now? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well done, Rima. If you want to write that in the future, just do 1 to 6 or 1 to 6. Okay. So I'm afraid Sarah doesn't seem to be able to join us, so I will add Marco next. So Marco, I'm inviting you in. Okay. Fingers crossed it all works, as ever. I do want you to join me, otherwise I'm going to have to do all the reading. So make sure you've cleared your cache from last time. Sadly, when I do invite people, it's not as quick as just clicking a button because you have to go through the voice test each time. So you have to be a little patient before you can join me in the call. Marco, hello. Can I hear you? Can you hear me?
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. Nice to see you. Okay, so I think we can safely add April now. Let's just see, where's April's hand? April, there you are. So April, you should be getting the call, the invitation to join. Now, I don't invite people in because I like people to make their own mind up whether they're ready to speak or not. Okay, so we've got the strings, and then which instruments do you think would belong in the percussion section on this list? So the percussion section, the hitting and shaking section. Hello, April. Can you hear me? Can I hear you? Hi, April. Are you with us?
Okay, now I can hear
Ah,
you.
hello.
What did I miss?
I was just asking which instruments would
You
be
miss
in
a lot.
the percussion section.
Yeah,
We were just talking about you. It's all right.
in 10 seconds you can miss a lot. Yeah.
You can. No, whenever I invite somebody in, we talk about them whilst they're not here. So no, we don't. Remember, if you do think you've missed something important, just watch the replay. Okay, this does go to replay, so no issues. So Shiny, you've got it. Well done. Yes, the percussion section. You've got the cymbals, the tuba. Actually, not the tuba. No, the cymbals. Yes, and then you've got the timpani, kettle drums, the drumstick, of course, and the triangle. Okay, the tuba is a bit of a misnomer in there. These are all wind, apart from the cymbals, but the cymbals also belong in the brass section. So cymbals, even though they are a percussion instrument that you bang together, they're actually part of the brass section as well. The cymbals, I think they'd be my favourite instrument. I wish I'd learnt to play the cymbals rather than the violin, because you get paid to take part in the performance, but you only have to play about 4 or 5 times in the whole symphony or in the whole musical piece. Oh, it's a great job. Clash. Clash. Okay, that's me done. I'll go and have a cup of tea now. Okay, well done. Well done. And the others are all wind. And there's woodwind. So the flute, the oboe, the clarinet, the bassoon, and then there's the brass, the trumpet, the French horn, the trombone, the cymbals, and the tuba. And the tuba is the huge one. And again, YouTube it. If there's any words and you think, what does it sound like? What might this sound like? I'd love to share the videos with you, but as you know, that's against copyright. But you can in YouTube, just Google symphony, philharmonic, orchestra, and then Google the instruments. And people are on YouTube playing music all the time. You'll even find the tuba. I will put some links into the forum for these instruments playing on YouTube. So check the forum out too. Okay. Okay, so we're going to do some reading. Marco and April, are you ready to read for us?
Lind, but
Yes.
the triangle.
Have I not done? Yes.
The triangle, yeah. Is that an idiophone instrument?
I don't know. What's an idiophone instrument? It's a the triangle is a non-pitched instrument. Okay. There are instruments that you can tune and that you can change the pitch of, but the triangle is a non-pitched instrument, if that's what it means. I don't know what idiophone means, so as far as I know, it's just a part of music, but okay, yeah, which vibrates to produce a sound when struck, shaken, or scraped, like a bell, a gong, or a rattle. So the maracas, yep, and I would say yes, the triangle as well, because you hit it, and it just makes that one sound. And you can also hit it inside the triangle to make a real rolling sound as well. Again, great instrument to learn, because like the cymbals, you just have to do 3 or 4 bits in the whole piece of music and then you've finished. So idiophonic, yes. And the xylophone would go in there as well. Okay. So anything you hit that makes a musical sound or vibrates, then I guess drums would go in there as well. Okay, so let's start. Any other questions? Hi, Mohit. Hello. Mohit, we're about to start reading. If you want to try to join us, if you can speak, then let me know. But we've only got 10 minutes, so we'd better start, okay? Okie dokie. Marco, you were the first person in. So I'm going to give you the text to read here, and I'll put it in here as well in case you can't see it, okay?
Okay. To start immediately.
Straight away. Yep.
Okay. Okay. The string section is the largest body of a single instrument category in the standard classical orchestra. It normally consists of the first violins, the second violins, the violas, the cellos, and the double basses or basses. The percussion The percussion section is one of the main divisions of the orchestra. It includes most percussion instruments and all unpitched instruments.
Very good. And as I said, by unpitched, it means you can't change the sound. So, for example, if I was to hit my desk, it's a percussion instrument suddenly. Okay, but I can't change the sound. It's unpitched. Okay. It'll always sound like that. Okay, so very nicely read, Marco. String, though, not thring, string. You've got to get the s and the t together. String. Try it.
String.
Yay! And viola or viola. So violin, viola, viola.
The same is, I can pronounce viola and viola is both are correct.
I've heard both. And I think
my.
it's down to, I think it's down to personal choice. I tend to say viola as well, but I tend to say viola. Okay, it's like a little violin. So I suppose they have to change it just to sound a little bit more distinctive. April, are you ready to read?
Yes.
Okay. You're in text chat as well. Okay, there's your topic, okay, can you see it?
Yes, thank you. The woodwind sections of the orchestra consists of woodwind instruments and is one of the main sections. The brass section of the orchestra consists of brass instruments. The British-style brass band contains only brass and percussion instruments. I thought that brass instrument more famous in America.
Oh no, the brass band. I mean, yes, America has brass bands too, but it's very traditional in the UK for lots of towns to have their own brass band, especially when they used to be coal mining towns. And there's a very famous piece of, even in Top of the Pops, there's a very famous piece of brass band music. I think it's the Floral Dance it's called. You can look it up on YouTube. Not my favourite sound, but ask Zeb, because she used to play in a brass band. And yes, every town in the UK just about has their own, at least one brass band. Okay? Just the true. One for you, April.
Hema played brass instruments every year in November, in the 11th of November.
Yeah, it is if you go to some sporting events, you'll find that, it's a brass band that entertains the crowd so they can go and get a pasty before the event starts. So it's a big thing, the brass band, the big brass band, but it's not my favourite sound at all. Parades, special events, out. Okay, just the one word for you, April. Percussion, not cushion. A cushion is what you put on the settee or on a chair. Okay, cushion, but percussion. Try it.
Okay. Percussion.
That's it. Yes, well done. Well done. Okay, any questions? Nope. Okay, then let's move on. And Marco, it's your turn again. Okay, I'll give it you in the chat as well. Here's your text.
Okay. A full-size orchestra may sometimes be called a symphony orchestra or philharmonic orchestra. The actual number of musicians employed in a given performance may vary from 70 to over 100 musicians, depending on the work being played and the size of the venue. The term chamber orchestra and sometimes concert orchestra usually refers to smaller-sized ensembles of about 50 musicians or fewer.
Very good. Not ensembles, ensembles. It's come from the French.
Ensemble.
We've rechanged the French
we called it ensemble. Yes, okay.
Yeah, that's it, ensemble. So we like to take the French pronunciation. So small-sized ensemble of about 50 musicians or fewer. Okay, small, 50 people playing together. It's not small, is it? And if you can imagine a full orchestra in a concert hall, because the venues, when we were talking about venues for pop concerts, etc., the venues for classical concerts sometimes are the same, but you won't find a classical concert in a pub. They're too small for starters because orchestras tend to be quite large. You can get classical ensembles of what we call quartets. Does anybody know how many people are in a quartet? Anybody guess? Yay, well done. Four. Quarter, four, quart, four. Quartet. Good. Excellent. Well done. Okay, how are we doing for time? We've got 2 more minutes, so we'll carry on doing this reading next week, but I'll give April this last bit before we go on to our amateur orchestras, which we can talk about next week, okay? So, April, here's your text. Oh, hang on. Where's my mouse gone? I've lost it. Okay. So, April, there's your text.
Okay. Orchestras are usually led by a conductor who directs the performance with the movements of their hands and arms, often using a conductor's baton. The conductor unfires the orchestra, sets the tempo, and shapes the sound of the ensemble. Ensemble.
Ensemble is fine as well. That's just more Frenchified. Sometimes it's like Riesling and Riesling, yes? So ensemble is what you'll probably hear, but you will hear ensemble, especially from people who know French. When people know French, they do tend to like to pronounce it correctly. Can sound a bit pretentious though, so be careful. Don't use it in Nottingham. Okay, very nicely read, but not unfires, unifies. Unifies.
Oh, yeah. Unifies.
That's it, to bring together. Yes, like university, brings everybody together to learn. Unify, to bring everything together. And the conductor, that's the person who doesn't actually play any musical instrument, but has to understand them all. And through, I've always thought they just waved their arms about. And it's something children do. Once they've seen a conductor, they can't help but try and do that. But actually, it's like a language. It's like a sign language to the orchestra. And each conductor has their own different style. And yes, in the UK, we have famous conductors. We also have bus conductors and train conductors, but they're not the same thing. Like our network. Yes, the network unifies English learning. Excellent. Okay, so any questions about the text?
Oh, about the text, sorry.
I threw that in to stop you. Any questions about the text? Everybody okay with the text?
They have to add actually instead only the movements of their hands and arms, also the heads, because
yeah, because they nod at different sections. You're next, kind of thing. Yeah, and the baton is also some conductors' batons can be worth a fortune, especially if they belonged to a famous conductor. I mean, classical musicians don't achieve the kind of fame that pop musicians do and that rock stars do, but they achieve their own fame in the sort of circle of classical music. So we'll talk about some famous classical musicians next week. Okay. The baton is a stick. Yes, exactly. But they wouldn't call it their stick. They would call it a baton. Oh, have you brought your stick with you? I have my baton. They do take things a little seriously sometimes. So the conductor's stick, yeah, why not? Okay.
Actually, I have one question about classical music. We call them classical music, but it is which period?
We call it classical music, but we call
Yeah,
them classical musicians. Yeah.
no, the music. I mean the music, and in the
Well,
meantime,
the music varies. I mean, there's so many different kinds of. It's like, you say pop music. What kind of pop music? Grunge, grime, punk, rock, and classical music has its own genres as well and subgenres. So rock music is a genre of music. Classical music is another genre with subgenres. Okay.
yeah, I just wonder: is there nobody else, musicians, that at this moment that kind of classical music what is that, Lynn? If you create a music componist, a componist,
Composer. Okay, the
a
person who
composer.
creates it is the composer, and the piece of music they compose, which is also a verb to compose, is a composition.
Okay, so is there not any composer this time who is writing that kind of music? So we can call them also classical music in this modern time.
Classical music composers, yes, of course there are. Yes, but it's really difficult for them to get their music played because everybody wants to play the famous pieces. But yes, there are classical composers. There are classical music schools. There's a big music school the other side of the city where I live, and I met a lovely guy from, I think, yes, he was from South Korea, and he was learning guitar, classical guitar, because we said, "Oh, are you going to be a rock star?" And he went, "No, classical guitar." It was like, oh, how dare you? All in German, of course, because we were learning German. So yes, of course, there are classical composers now. They just aren't as famous as Beethoven, Brahms, Liszt, Mozart, Schubert, etc. I will see if I can find some. In fact, Amatsu's a very good person if you're interested in classical music. Amatsu's far better informed about ballet and classical music than I, but I'll see if I can find some classical composers from today. They tend to compose differently. They don't want to sound like Beethoven. They want to develop their own sound, but they're still considered classical composers. Okay? I forgot the article. Thank you.
Do you notice that I corrected it for
Yes.
you?
Revenge is sweet. Thank you. Thank you. But be good. With great power comes great responsibility. Okay, so we'll stop there for this week. I'll put this text up on the forum as well in the vocabulary challenge group, and we will continue next week. There'll be a little test next week, but just a little one, that's all. And then we'll carry on this reading, and we'll look at some of the different genres of classical music too, and have a look at the forum, because I'll put some YouTube videos up that you can watch before next week's session, just to prepare you, okay? We're going to have a little test of your listening skills, your musical listening skills. Oh, but only if I can get my keyboard to start working, okay? Otherwise, it won't happen. Thank you for coming. I hope you enjoyed the session. Suma, you didn't manage to get into the call. There's a section on the forum where you can ask for help. getting into Webinar Jam. And if you have any questions about how it works and why it hasn't worked for you, go to the forum. Let me just find the section for you. So pop into the forum, go down to, oh, there she comes. You can close her off, by the way. She's disappearing soon. As soon as I've got Discuss sorted, she'll go. Go into the forum, go into technology and games, okay? And you can find, just start a new topic, start a new discussion. You'll have to be signed in, of course, start a new discussion, or find where other people have asked, and we will try to help you, okay? And of course, Aladdin is online this evening. Things do go wrong, of course. It went terribly wrong on Saturday. We always have a backup plan, so don't panic. And we'll always let you know where the new backup plan is going to be. We might end up running a webinar using just Google, but it worked today for me. So Aladdin, I don't know what happened on Saturday. I've put a call into the support though. All right, take care everybody. Thanks for coming, and I will see you, some of you, in Skype in a minute, 20 minutes. I've got to go and get my coffee now. I'll just stop screen sharing.
In Skype, Lynn?
Okay, so screen sharing is a little bit like joining the call. You miss out on what people say. So when I stop and start screen sharing, you can talk about me with impunity. I won't be able to hear you. Not in Skype, in Kitely, I meant to say. Did I say Skype, Shiny? Thank you. Thank you. In Kitely. I'll see you in Kitely in 20 minutes to carry on reading The Call of the Wild. All right. And if you can't join us, don't forget you can watch the reading. You can watch Shiny and April, Marco, whoever turns up, and take part. Mohit as well. I hope you're coming today. And you can watch them read and listen to their corrections too, if that might be helpful. Take care then. Bye. And thank you for coming.
Thank you. See you. Bye.
Of course you can, Mohit. Yes. Send me... yeah, I'll have to add you to the group. So I will try to be there 5 minutes before the session starts, Mohit. I'll meet you and then I'll show you how to join us in the winter sim. Because when we read in Kitely, we try to read in different sims and you need an invitation to get there, okay? So see if you can log in 5 minutes before the session starts and I'll meet you there, okay? Okay, excellent. I shall look forward to seeing you. Thank you, Marco. Thank you, April. Sorry, Rima. Thank you, April, for joining us. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.